Hey, hi, I'm Leighann. I recently decided that I'm going to go all in on trying to be a better artist, and I'm sharing that journey with the internet. So for this week, I'm going to dive into some different methods for drawing the head. I've pretty much always considered myself to be an artist, but in more of a hobby way. I've never taken it seriously. If I've taken lessons, they were while I was in, middle school. So I'm going to attempt to teach myself art in kind of the same way that I would have if I went to college. After doing some research and looking at reviews, I ordered the Stillman & Byrne Premium Sketchbook Mixed Media from the Delta series. So this is what I'm starting with. My new sketchbook, this random 2.5 HB pencil that I have, my Morpho book, which is my only art anatomy reference book that I currently own, and all the helpful content that I can find on the internet. For day one, I'm just starting with what I already know. I'm going to find a reference photo on Unsplash and see how far I can get with it in an hour. My usual technique, which you'll see here, is literally just to try and copy the photo the best I can. And there's specifically two things that I want to address about doing this, because the thing about learning to draw just by copying what you see from a photo is that it can be really limiting. For example, I may only spend an hour on this drawing, but I know that even if I kept working on this for days, I wouldn't get much further than you're going to see here. So first, I'm limited by my knowledge of facial structure to be able to render the planes of the face correctly. And second, I think that observation is its own skill that I really need to work on. Creating a good drawing starts with being able to recognize what you're seeing and then break it down into simple shapes, neither of which I have a lot of practice with. According to Live Science, your ability to draw realistically hinges on 3 factors: how a person perceives reality, how well he or she remembers visual information from one moment to the next, and which elements of an object he or she selects to actually draw. So this is as far as I ended up getting for today. I didn't even bother with the glasses, but besides that, you can also tell that her features are just off. I'm hoping to be able to come back to this in a few months though, and be surprised by how much my skills have improved. Okay, day 2 of my journey, I'm going to try out the very popular Loomis Method, and hopefully that will improve my head drawing capabilities. You've probably heard of the Loomis Method already, but this was actually my first time learning about it. Just as some background, William Andrew Loomis was born in 1892. He studied under George Bridgman, who I talk about later, and he opened his own studio in 1922, working on editorial and advertising illustrations for big brands like Coca-Cola and Kellogg's. But mostly, he's remembered for his books. These were the books that taught you how to draw before the internet. And if you're interested in learning the Loomis Method, I'll link Andrew Loomis's book, Drawing the Head and Hands, below, as well as a step-by-step guide. The Loomis Method is probably the simplest method that I tried this week, but it's also the most natural to me. I wrote down only 4 steps in my sketchbook here. First, determine the angle of the head. Draw a round ball, then a horizontal line through the middle that represents the brow line, and then a smaller circle to represent the side plane of the head. Step 2 is to find the thirds of the head. The top is going to be the hairline, the middle is the nose, and the bottom is the chin. Step 3 is to add the jaw. You can see I'm making the back part by starting where the 2 circles meet. And lastly, step 4 is just to add the features. Eyes are going to be 1/4 of the way down between the brow and the nose. The bottom of the lips is going to be about halfway between the nose and the chin. The ears go in the outside bottom 1/4 of the side plane circle that we made earlier. Here's a final look at my sketch page. I'm definitely going to have to try this method out more, but I think it was an okay start. So let's move on to day 3. I'm going to be looking into the Bridgman method and see what his theory on head anatomy is. George Bridgman was a painter, writer, and teacher born in 1864. He studied with the famous French painter Jean-Léon Gérôme. But really, he's known for his very formulaic approach to anatomy, using geometric shapes to represent major masses of the body. He had a lot of notable students and many informative books. Bridgman's guides were the most confusing for me this week. I didn't find a single step-by-step guide for how to draw heads from him, but I know he provided a lot of great information in his books. Here I'm using his cube method, which helps draw the head at different angles, especially when foreshortening is an issue. And the next method I'm going over is called the 4-line method, and you use it to check the angle of the head. I drew this last head by following a procedure that I found on a website, and I will link that below. If you would like more information on Bridgman's head guide, I have also added a link for that too. Okay, and here's my final page. I think I'm gonna have to go read Bridgman's book before I truly understand all this. Day 4. I'm really excited to get into this because I'm going to try out the Reilly method. Frank Reilly's method is definitely the most complex, but that doesn't mean I'm any less excited. Born in 1906, he is also a painter, illustrator, and teacher that studied under Bridgman. He started his own school in the early 60s called the Frank J. Reilly School of Art, and he was known for being a meticulous perfectionist. Reilly's method for the head breaks down the anatomy into rhythmic groups and maps out the major elements and planes of the face. Reilly approached art as a science, understanding that fundamental principles and formulas, when applied with consistency, were among the keys to becoming a successful artist. It's a very mathematical approach that I really enjoyed. And unlike all the other methods that I tried this week, this one actually covers how to draw the features. But unfortunately, there are a lot of steps to this method, and so I would need a whole separate video to be able to cover all of them. The Reilly method is usually considered a very advanced technique, and while I'm not a very advanced artist, I found going over this method at least once to be very helpful. It felt like an introduction to the planes of the head, which I'm hoping to go over next. It's also worth noting that Frank Reilly never wrote anything down about this. Everything we know about his method is just relying on what his own students wrote about it. Okay, I think this has been a pretty decent first week. It feels a little bit like a slow start, but we're getting there. I'm not really sure how these methods are actually supposed to be applied. It doesn't seem like artists actually use these when they go to draw heads or anything like that, so I think they're more just for studying. Let me know in the comments. Also, if you have any suggestions of things that I need to learn to become a better artist, you can leave those in the comments too. And if you want to watch me learn to draw, become a better artist, you can subscribe.